In the year 2020, I started a podcast about movies. Some episodes occasionally focused on other media as well. As I dealt with threatening interdimensional beings, I eventually met my other self from another universe where all the stuff I talked about got delayed. As it turns out, the stories as me and my guests described them were presented very differently in that other universe. So I continued podcasting these recaps, which apparently sound like improvised reviews, to entertain listeners of that other universe while they waited for the new release dates. Some episodes even focused on content of years past that did not come out in that other universe for whatever reason. The year is 2022. The podcast is now bi-weekly, unless stated otherwise. My name is Steven Shinder, and you're listening to Delayed Replay. Hello, listeners. Welcome to another episode of Delayed Replay, that podcast where we recap and review movies that came out on time in our universe but got delayed in that other universe. I'm your host, Steven Shinder, and joining me again, you may have heard him on previous episodes in the past, it is Dylan Green from Decorative Vegetable. How's it going?
It's going pretty well. I think, funnily enough, this is my first post-Decorative Vegetable appearance on this show. We recorded the very last episode of Trust Your Doctor, so oops.
Yeah, therefore making this the best podcast recording you've been on since it's the most recent one.
Yeah, that's how that works.
Yeah. Because the newest installment is always the best one in a franchise or whatever. Or in your acting credits, I guess.
Yeah, that's literally never been proven wrong at all.
Right. So
yeah, I mean,
we're
Star Wars, you know?
Yeah.
Rise of Skywalker, that's the best Star Wars movie, right? Like, exactly.
Funny enough, that was the example I just couldn't shake out of my mind, like, while saying this statement. Just being completely wrong and whatnot. Speaking of most recent installments in a franchise, we are talking about Creed 3. Funny enough, the 9th movie in that franchise. So yeah, take that, Episode 9, Rise of Skywalker. I don't know. But yeah, so to start off, what have been your experiences with the Rocky and Creed movies? And then I'll go into mine after you do so.
Well, I've seen all the Rocky and Creed movies at least once. We watched a lot of them for the podcast, Triple Play. Check that out.
Best Decorative Vegetable podcast.
Well, I think you're allowed at that, but sure. And I've seen the first one like maybe 2-3 times overall. And I've seen like randomly, I think the fourth one twice. Like I had seen the fourth one before I saw the second and third one. Yeah, kind of weird, I know, but
yeah, it's like some sort of Star Wars order, seeing the fourth one before some of the others.
The fourth one is good. Look, people.
I mean, it is. I agree. Like my friends like bag on me for loving it, but I love the fourth one.
Yeah, exactly. People rag on us for liking the fourth one, and so it's an unpopular opinion. But the fourth one is good. Yeah, people have difficulty accepting this, but the fourth one is good.
Yeah, it's got the best montage music. It's got a nice message that like countries should change. You know, that speech is just iconic at the end, you know?
Yeah, so that's my experience with Rocky. Oh, and I saw the second Creed in theaters. I'm trying to remember if I saw the first. I think the first Creed was the first Rocky movie I saw in theaters. I think I saw Creed in theaters, and I saw Creed 2 in theaters. And then I also saw Creed 3 in theaters. So, completing the trifecta. It'd be really weird if I had seen Creed 3 at home, but
Right, yeah, Creed 3 came out November 23rd, which we all know what day that is.
Well, it's Creed 3 Day, duh.
I was gonna say Doctor Who Day, but sure.
No. It's been surpassed. It's been superseded by Creed 3. It's Creed 3 Day now.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. Check out Trust Your Doctor, a Creed 3 podcast. But so my experience with the well, first with the Rocky movies, I remember so I had to look up like when I watched these originally. So this was back in like 2010. It might have been like that fall, maybe that November even. I would look at the like TV guide thing and we had a DVR, me and my brother and our family, and I think he had seen some of the Rocky movies before, at least, but this was like my first time watching each of them. So, the two of us watched the first five in order, like on TV. Like we record them on the DVR and watch them whenever we could, and I was like really wrapped into this story, which is it's interesting because I don't really like sports or even boxing, but with like the drama that they throw in with the character of Rocky, it's like it just draws me in. So, going through 1 through 5, and 5 is the worst one, but it still has down to earth moments I really like, and I love the song during the end credits. Elton John's "A Measure of a Man." I think that's pretty good. And then we rented Rocky Balboa, the sixth film, and we enjoyed that, and that seemed like a nice closing of the book. And like I think we were like, yeah, it would be fine with no more movies. But then Creed was announced, and we were like, well, wonder if we'll like this type of thing. And we watched those movies in the theaters, and first one was really great. I think I even called it my favorite 2015 film. And, it had been like 5 years since I watched Rocky Balboa on like December 1st, 2010, according to what I'm looking at. So it felt like quite a gap in a way. Yeah, Creed was great, and then Creed 2 like was also surprisingly great to the point where I wasn't sure which one I preferred. And yeah, that I just love how those films didn't feel like a cash grab. It felt like they were waiting to make sure that they had a good story to tell. And I like that they take their time with each of these sequels. Like it's always at least 3 years.
Right, yeah. I mean, I don't know which of the two Creed movies I preferred before Creed 3. I really liked Creed 2 probably more than, well, at least according to Rotten Tomatoes, more than most, I guess. Um, I don't know, I just really liked the themes Creed 2 was doing, but also Creed 1 just felt like fresh, like a breath of fresh air in a franchise that had been doing the same thing for 6 movies. So, I don't know. Also, you said Rocky 5 is the worst one. I don't disagree, but it also has the best, or at least I think it was in Rocky 5. Maybe it was in Rocky Balboa, actually. Yeah, actually, I take it back. I think it was in Rocky Balboa. When Rocky's like, it doesn't matter how hard you get hit, it matters how hard you get hit and you keep on going. I actually think that was Rocky Balboa. I was gonna say that's in Rocky 5, but I don't think that's true at all. I think it was Rocky Balboa actually.
I'll write it in the show notes, I guess.
It's been a while since I've seen these movies, at least a year. So they've been their space in my mind has been vacated for more recent movies.
Yeah, like Don't Worry, Darling. That was such a great film.
Yeah, strong disagree. Strongly disagree. I feel like you just said that because I know you follow me on Letterboxd and I follow you on Letterboxd. And I feel like you've seen my thoughts on that movie there.
No, yeah,
But
I have, and I weirdly enjoyed the movie for whatever reason. But anyway,
hey, I mean, you're allowed to enjoy movies for whatever reason you want. That's fine. That's it. That's the whole sentence. I know you probably expected me to say some funny thing like opinions are wrong, but you know what? I've grown from that. You can enjoy movies for whatever reason you want. That's fine.
well, hard disagree just to be contrarian in this very moment. But But yeah, on to Creed 3. So what'd you think of this premise of bringing in this character from his past that I don't think we'd really heard of before, Dame Anderson, played by Jonathan Majors. So what'd you think of that story choice?
Yeah, I felt it was actually a pretty weak choice, a pretty I'm just trying to find the word. I don't know. The Rocky movies never Creed 1 and 2 included in this never hinged on like doing the like secret history that comes back to haunt them kind of move, like none of the other Rocky movies had to plumb the depths of like awkwardly retconning someone into the history of their story. It kind of felt like they included him because they wanted Creed, Adonis Creed, to have some sort of historical kind of person to fight, and someone who they had known for a while without actually doing the legwork of setting them up in a previous movie.
Yeah, and I was thinking about this, but if I remember correctly, Adonis himself felt kind of like a new addition slash kind of retcon because like we'd seen Apollo with kids in previous films, but like Adonis hadn't appeared until like the first Creed movie, and so like that in itself was kind of like this. But I felt like with Dame, it kind of takes it a step further, and I kind of wish that Dame could have at least somehow been like seated in like the first movie or something, like whether it be like a prologue, a flashback at the beginning, or maybe like just a throwaway line, and then people could like speculate about that type of thing.
Hmm.
So yeah, I totally get how it feels kind of out of left field for this movie. And
Yeah,
yet
I just wish they had kind of set it up a little earlier, but I guess at the end of the day, it worked out all right.
yeah, and Jonathan Majors, I mean, what a month for him. He plays Kang in Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania, which included like a wrestling scene, and now here he is boxing in Creed 3. If I remember correctly, this is like 7 years after the first Creed movie, so it's kind of like moving in real time as the Rocky and Creed movies generally do. Adonis has his family life. He's with Bianca, and they have their daughter Amara, and she's like maybe 4 or 5 or something. And so
Hmm.
see him like living a nice family life while also like having this boxing career. But when they bring Dame into the picture, that's when Donnie has like all this guilt to grapple with.
Yeah, I mean, in a way, there's kind of this theme of like the past versus the future going on here. Creed, Donis Creed, Donnie, whatever you want to call him, has to kind of fight his past, in Dame to preserve his future with Bianca and his
Yeah.
daughter.
Yeah, because Dame has been in prison for like 18 years, and he makes a point of like someone could have been born and become an adult in that time. And it's like, okay, like calm down, Dame. Like, like me sitting in the theater, I'm like 18 years. Yeah, everyone knows that. Yeah, it's whatever. Like, you didn't have to throw in that cliche line type of thing.
People could have lived in 18 years. Like the trailer voice man, 18 years ago,
Yeah,
Dane
exactly.
Anderson was imprisoned, but now he's free. What will Donnie do?
Exactly. Like 18 years ago, the Catwoman movie came out and everyone hated it. Yeah, Dame obviously feels like he's missed out a lot on life, and he was like a really good at boxing even at a young age, and he's honed that craft even more while being in prison. And now like he wants a shot in the ring, and Donnie feels, like we said, both guilt but also both threatened, but because it's obvious how like angry Dame is, and so he really is worried about all of this like ruining like his personal and family life type of thing. So it's a unique rivalry. I do like that they didn't go the rivals who are children of rivals type of thing. Like they do bring in Clubber Lang's son in this movie, put by Deontay Wilder, like Sylvester Stallone suggested could happen like a few years ago, and we weren't sure because like he wasn't in the trailer, but it's like, oh, I guess he's here. And it's like he's also in the boxing world, but it's not like he and Donnie are like furious at each other. It's kind of like they both just kind of know each other, and sometimes they hang out at a bar or whatever with like all these other boxing people, and it's just kind of whatever, which I thought was a nice subversion of that type of thing, at least.
Yeah, it is a nice subversion, but at the same time, it kind of feels like the Creed movies have always lived in the Rocky movies' shadows. They've always been beholden to the Rocky history, right? The first movie is like literally it's about, Apollo Creed's son enlisting Rocky to train him so he can box. The second one is about him facing off against Ivan Drago's son. Like there's no, this is the first one where he really can flex his history away from the Rocky franchise with I guess an adversary who's born of his own kind of his own actions and his own history. So, I suppose in a way it's better that they did that than there was that rumor that Clubber Lang's son was going to be the
Like the primary villain.
right, the primary villain of the movie, but it's I think it was a good choice that they went in a different direction.
Yeah, you make a good point. Like all the previous Creed movies being sort of in the shadow of, or I guess connected to the Rocky movies, like even with Drago's involvement in the second movie, and I mean he's getting a spin-off, so that'll be interesting. But yeah, in Creed 3, it is unique having this be more related to Donnie's history. And where was I going with this? I had a thought. So what do you think of Creed 3's lack of Rocky's presence?
It's all right, It kind of plays into what I was saying about the Creed movies stepping out of the Rocky movies' shadow, kind of trying to become their own thing. And I think maybe it was necessary for them to kind of let go of Rocky at this point, let Creed become his own person, who isn't beholden to like Rocky. And I think Creed 2 is actually kind of a good ending point for Rocky's story anyway. I mean, Rocky realizes that he needs to reconnect with his son, and he goes off to kind of make up for lost time. And I think, he realizes he spent all this time with Adonis, taking him out to Olive Garden all the time, but it's about time he went back to his own son, his own family. It's time he stops running from his past and Adrian. Adrian.
And Creed 3 kind of broke a curse with Rocky's son, because in each movie, Rocky's son would be played by a different actor, but Creed 2 was like the first time he was played by an actor portrayed him before, the same actor they used in Rocky Balboa. And yeah, I thought the Olive Garden scenes were nice. My friend calls Olive Garden the OG, which I think is a fun name. and true story, I remember like 3 or 4 years ago, me and that friend and another friend went to Olive Garden, and we were like, all right, when we order food, let's all together say, let's get this bread. And we were like so ready to do it, but when the waiter came, we ended up like not doing it.
You chickened out. Y'all chickened out.
Yeah, I know. How dare we?
It reminds me of like my friend and I both broke up with our girlfriends at the same time, and our solution to the heartache was just to both go to Olive Garden and just gorge ourselves on unlimited pasta.
Oh my
And
gosh.
we were so full, we were like going home. We're like, oh my god, I'm gonna I'm in a food coma.
Well, better to be a fool than to be empty, as I always say as of yesterday.
I was to say, do you always say that? I feel like I've literally never heard you say that before.
Yeah, so now you know.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I guess I just don't listen to you enough.
There was also like some product placement in this that kind of reminded me of Happy Gilmore. where like some of the boxers would be obviously sponsored by certain companies. Like one of them was sponsored by Coca-Cola, a company that some of our listeners may have heard of. And like some of the there was someone else who was like sponsored by Subway, and it was a little distracting, but at the same time it's like, okay, I don't watch boxing, but I guess that might be a thing in the boxing world,
Yeah, I don't know if it is. My personal favorite was the guy who was sponsored by Olive Garden, just bringing the entire thing full circle, you know?
Yeah, like full circle, the Doctor Who story.
Yes, exactly.
The thing about Rocky's Shadow also reminded me of like when I watched Creed 2, there's that weird moment in the beginning where Donnie's getting ready for a match, and then everyone else sort of leaves the room or whatever, and then you hear Rocky's voice, and the camera does like a weird turnaround as if it's a twist that he's seeing him or whatever. And like in that moment, I was like, wait, is Rocky supposed to be dead in this movie? Like, is he seeing Rocky's ghosting at the beginning of Creed 2? But no, that wasn't the case. It was just a weird cinematography choice, I guess.
Reminds me of like Ocean's 8 that just like kills Danny Ocean off screen.
Yeah, because he deserved it. No, I'm kidding.
Wow. 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 I have
Yeah,
nothing to say except wow for that. Danny Ocean was carrying the Oceans franchise, and I didn't even realize till I watched Ocean's 8. Not that I disliked Ocean's 8. I want to make that clear. I actually kind of liked that movie, but still.
yeah, like to me, all the Oceans movies are kind of more or less around the same quality, even Ocean's 8. Although, like the recent ones, at least, they're all above the original Ocean's 11 to me, the weird one from the 60s where things just kind of happen and it's super boring.
Yeah, that one is so dull.
Getting back to Dame, I do like that we get enough of his perspective. We get to see his training. Usually we get like the protagonist getting the training montages, but here Dame gets his own. I thought it was interesting, totally out of left field, but kind of not, how his training montage was set to the song Close to the Hype, which is like a 1990s like hip hop song by Damian Anderson, like son of Yes singer John Anderson. So it was a really deep cut, but I like that they sort of like intertwined the two Damian Andersons in this way, I guess.
Yeah, it was a pretty deep cut. Gonna be honest, had never heard this song before the movie. Was kind of just on it, heard it and I went, oh, I guess that's neat. I don't know, interesting choice.
Yeah, like it was just kind of there. But yeah, but what'd you think of what Dame was doing during this training montage and how they depicted it?
It was pretty interesting. Kind of was a little bit of a throwback to, he was doing it in the winter. They were running through the streets covered in snow. Kind of a throwback to Rocky 4, the best Rocky movie. I actually don't think it's the best, but it's definitely top 3.
For me, it's the best Rocky movie, but I don't know if it surpasses like Creed 2 and all that.
Yeah. Fair enough. I still like the first Rocky more than Rocky 4, but Rocky 4 is like a
Okay.
solid second place, solid second place. But it was kind of a throwback. Interesting how they kind of, uh, they played off this idea that you don't really know who to root for throughout this movie. Are you going to root for Adonis Creed? Are you going to root for Damian Anderson? Like, because they focus so much on Damian's training rather than Adonis's, they're almost playing him off like he's the protagonist of this movie, which makes sense. There is some social commentary on this movie about the prison system and the justice system in the U.S. and like, was Damian Anderson rightfully imprisoned or not? And the movie doesn't answer that question, but it does kind of lead you to wonder, like, should we be rooting for Damian Anderson? I don't know.
Actor wise, it feels kind of like well, I mean, I guess I'll just go ahead and bring in the Marvel connection. It's kind of like in the first Black Panther movie, Michael B. Jordan plays the character who like gets left behind and then returns later, and now it's like Damien is sort of in that role, so it's kind of like a role reversal thing going on here, which is an interesting choice, and I don't know if they had that in mind as sort of inspiration, but it is pretty interesting.
Hmm.
The cinematography with the training montages and all the snow, it's like it just looks amazing, and like you even see like the running alongside the edge of the peninsula, which I don't know where this is, but it was a choice and it looked cool. And we should also say that this movie is directed by Michael B. Jordan. You know, he hasn't directed any of these films before.
Hasn't directed any movie before, right? This is his directorial debut, I believe. Or
Yeah,
directorial,
I
suppose, how
believe.
you're supposed to pronounce that.
Yeah, directorial. Yeah,
Directorial.
yeah. Looking through his credits, I'm pretty sure this is his debut in the director's chair. Yeah. So, what'd you think of his overall job in directing this movie? Like, I guess before we get back into the plot of it.
I thought it was pretty good. Um, you know, as with most people's directorial debuts, there was some like really amateur directing mistakes. A couple of edits that seemed like they ended a little too early. A little bit of framing where the people are like not quite centered in the frame, or they're
Yeah, like there was one where Donnie is looking out the window, but it's like the left side of the window is in the middle of the frame, and the rest is just like the wall of the outside of the home. Yeah, that was weird.
yeah, just some things like that. But you can always make the argument that that was intentional. But whether or not it was intentional or not, I found it extremely distracting to the movie at times. One of the best things about the Creed movies has been the directing of the fight scenes at the end of the movies. And I think in that aspect, this movie just isn't quite up to par with the other two. It's certainly a valiant effort on the part of Michael B. Jordan. I just don't think he necessarily had the experience to get it over that threshold of kind of excitement and execution that the other two Creed movies had, specifically in that final fight scene. Um, and I know I'm giving Michael B. Jordan a lot of grief here, but I sense he has a lot of talent. There's a lot of raw talent there that just needs to be a little refined, and I think he's gonna have a very illustrious career as a director.
Yeah, like for a first film as a director, it's definitely pretty strong. Like just as a first film, because there are people who put out like first films and sometimes they're real stinkers. Like Matt Reeves' first film, The Pallbearer, was just bad, and then later on he'd go on to do a couple of Planet of the Apes movies and the Batman, and it's like, whoa, this guy has like really grown a lot.
Yeah, there are certainly some other directors who go in the opposite direction. Night, but
Oh, Gesundheit. I think he has something stuck in your throat.
yeah, I think so. I think I got it out though. I think I got it out.
Okay, I'll edit that out. But but yeah, were you saying? Did you have anything else to that effect, or was that like the end of your sentence?
um, no, I think that was the end of the sentence. But
Okay,
I
yeah, just like
certainly will
how.
be watching Michael's career with great interest.
Okay, yeah, just like how this was the end of Dame's sentence in prison, and now he's
Wow.
out.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. How long have you been holding on to that one, huh? How long have you been holding on to that one?
Like literally after you said end of the sentence, like 20 seconds ago or whenever it was.
Wow. Wow. What did you think of the whole detective subplot? We kept getting these scenes of this detective, this unknown, we faceless detective who, at the end of the movie, was revealed to be quite an important character. Like, what did you think about that whole plot thread? Kind of again, the idea of like, was Dame rightfully imprisoned or not? They have this detective character who's following the whole following what you think is him the whole movie, but you find out he's actually following Adonis. What did you think about that?
Yeah, it was weird that they threw in this mystery element and, not showing his face for a long time. It reminded me of The Question from DC. I think he wears a mask where it looks like a blank face, but here it's more like they just like don't show this detective's face for a while. And for a while I thought that maybe Adonis hired him as like a private detective to look into Dame's past. So, like, you see him rifling through files, and you see like some stuff written about both of them, because both of these boxers knew each other when they were younger, and so you think, oh, he's investigating Dame, but it turns out no, he's investigating Adonis. And yeah, it was like a really weird angle. There was even some noir, like 80s synth music accompanying his scenes, which I mean, look, I know people will say it fell out of place, but I love a good synth soundtrack, so I was kind of digging it.
It was very shoot. Now I'm not remembering which of the Rocky movies had the highly synthesized soundtrack. I think it was Rocky 3 actually. Was it Rocky 3? Damn, I'm not remembering. One of them had like a really synthesized soundtrack.
Yeah, maybe the fourth one.
Maybe it was Rocky 4. It's like because they couldn't get Bill Conti, so they got maybe it was Rocky 4. Vince DiCola. Probably Rocky 4.
Yeah, Vince DiCola, not to be confused with Coca-Cola.
I don't know. I thought it fit. I thought it worked. The score, that is what I'm saying. The music, I'm here for it, so to speak. I was kind of bummed to see that Ludwig, I'm gonna pronounce his name wrong, like I always do.
Göransson.
Yeah. Wow. Didn't score this movie because I really liked his music, especially for Creed 2. I felt like it was one of his strongest scores, just in his career to that point. And so I was bummed he didn't return for this movie, but it's okay. Change is good. Change can be good.
Yeah, if you can change and I can change, we can all change. I guess that could also be like
change together.
I guess it could also be like the 11th Doctor's speech, but So yeah, and I like the down to earth moments we get with Adonis and his family, with Bianca and Amara, and he's trying to be a good father, but like you can tell his daughter can see the worry that he's carrying over like his past coming back to bite him, even if she doesn't know all the details. And Bianca is trying to tell Adonis to like, just he has a lot going on, but he should try to remember where he is now rather than let what came in the past come back to bite him, which I thought Tessa Thompson did a really good job here. Again, it's like real weird seeing like we're living in an era where any movie could have multiple Marvel actors, because there have been so many damn Marvel movies now, and it's like kind of weird.
Yeah, it's like every time on Twitter they announce that like X actor is gonna be in something, they're like, oh man, like when they announced Jonathan Majors was in this, they were like, oh wow, Kang versus Killmonger. And my favorite comments on those tweets are the ones that are like, Marvel fans, try not to use Marvel, like try not to reduce people's careers to Marvel roles only challenge. Impossible.
Yeah, it would be tough trying to find a modern film that doesn't have anyone who's been in a Marvel film at this point. Well, in the US anyway, I should say.
I was just about to say, I just watched a movie called Triangle of Sadness. Pretty sure that had no Marvel actors in it.
Wow, maybe I can relate to that title. Because sometimes I order pizza, and if it's really bland slice, it's a triangle of sadness.
Surprisingly, the movie wasn't about pizza, nor did it feature pizza at any moment in the movie.
Damn.
But that would have been pretty funny, I'm going to be honest.
Yeah, we're all about honesty on this podcast, as we are honestly recapping this movie we saw. We get some familiar characters like throughout this movie as well, like Ricky from the first Creed movie. Victor Drago also gets a cameo, and we get a couple other familiar characters who've been in these other Creed movies, reinforcing that this is, the Creed world. And I don't know, it's really nice just seeing all these things for this third movie. Like, I guess this third installment of a trilogy, you could say. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, it just kind of ties it in a neat bow, like having all these familiarity where it makes sense, where it doesn't feel forced, and just leading up to this final boxing match in the movie, which I think is like the longest boxing match in any of these Rocky and Creed movies.
Yeah, it makes up like almost an hour of the movie's runtime. Just by coincidence, I checked my watch right before it started. So yeah, it's like pretty much an hour of the movie's runtime. It's a long one.
Yeah, it reminded me that I despise watching boxing IRL. Because, well, I guess sports in general, just watching them on the TV, it feels like they drag on for so long. And what I've loved about these Rocky and Creed movies, and like any sports drama that I enjoy, is when they condense the final match into like just 15 minutes or a half hour or something. So it's feels like it's not dragging out. It's just showing the essentials, and you care about these characters because you see the drama they're going through in the lead up to the match. Whereas with just a normal real life sports game, I don't know who any of these people are, you know?
Hmm. Yeah, I guess. I mean, there is that element with sports movies that you have, you have an attachment to one of the characters, so you're kind of rooting for them. Whereas in real life, unless you follow sports for you follow it for a while, you grow an attachment to your favorite players. Yeah, if you don't do that, then you don't get that attachment in real life.
Yeah.
And in the movie, they just kind of hyper speed that attachment, light speed.
And there's also an element of how in real life you can follow athletes on social media, but you still don't get like the behind the door view of like their family life like you get here in these types of movies.
Hmm.
I also wasn't a fan of the Instagram subplot where like Donnie's like people, like his management, I guess, were like telling him, hey, you need a social media presence, and he's like trying to like build an Instagram profile, and it like stuff like that just feels cringe to me when like movies and shows do that. So yeah, that kind of took me out of it.
Yeah, it was. I don't know. It was such a random inclusion in the movie. Like, oh, you have to have a social media following for this fight. You need to build hype. And it's like, but like, like obviously they're gonna build hype for the fight. But like, was it really necessary that we saw Adonis do it?
Yeah, all
You
the
know,
likes and the comments.
yeah. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to this podcast. Uh,
Yeah.
Be sure to smash that bell if you're on YouTube so you get notifications.
Yeah, and then Dame feeling threatened by all the like his social by Donnie's social media profile decides to make his own, and he gets more followers, and therefore Donnie gets more threatened, and it felt like such a childish thing to throw into this. So when we get to that hour-long boxing match, it kind of loses a bit of that oomph factor because of the social media stuff.
Yeah, it kind of also makes the film drag a little bit. I mean, you're just
Drago, you might say.
you might say, um, you might, but I was like, you know, part of the reason I even I checked my watch right before the match is because I was like, man, this movie's dragging. You know, it's just it's just not holding my attention right now because social media is such an auxiliary part of my life.
And like during this match, they try to pad out the time because you have like the build up at the beginning, and in the audience, you see a couple cameos. Like you have Pedro Pascal being like, "It's Creed," which I guess referencing a line of his from The Mandalorian, and then sitting in front of him, you see Creed Bratton from The Office, and he's like, "Wait, what?" And yeah, that was kind of distracting. I don't know why they did that.
It's they're just like how they did with the Damien Anderson music stuff. They're just doing a little trick on you, just doing a little naming trick. Just being a little clever for you.
Yeah. Also, my dog's drinking water. I'm not sure if it's coming through in the recording, but in case anyone's wondering and they hear that. But yeah, I will say I
Oh, sorry,
do.
that was just me.
Oh,
Yeah, that was just me.
oh gosh. I will say I did enjoy the music throughout this fight. I thought the score was strong in places here. So when I wasn't like exactly paying attention to the boxing moves, I was paying attention to the music, and I was like, okay, I'm enjoying this aspect at least. I'm kind of rooting for Dame in some places, even though I've been following Donnie for a longer while, and there's like that back and forth of like, who do we really want to win? And it's kind of disorienting.
Mm-hmm.
What did you think of how this match and like, I guess ended? I was gonna say ended up and then verb, but I guess just ended like at the end.
Yeah, kind of just ended. I don't know, for an hour-long fight, it was kind of underwhelming for it to just end, you know?
You kind of expect it to be like with climactic music and just like like speedy like fights, but toward the end it just felt like a normal real life boxing match with not a lot of gravitas. And Dame ends up winning and he and Donnie end up like hugging it out and whatever, but it didn't feel as earned because of how dragged out it felt. It's like, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how I feel about the ending, you know. Like you said, I think that's the perfect phrase is it didn't feel earned, you know. You know, they kind of reconcile at the end of the movie. They put the past behind them, but at the same time, it's like we just watched this whole movie of them duking it out. We watched them box for an hour, and there was no kind of resolution to that. Kind of the emotional through thread, you know.
Yeah, I think it was interesting that they tried to make the film feel real by like delving into like all the prison system stuff, but making the boxing match feel real just didn't work for me. And then we got like the detective thread, which, I mean, I don't know, were you satisfied with how that concluded?
Yeah, you know, it was like we said earlier, very interesting for them to reveal that the detective had been following Donnie the whole movie. And we finally find out the reason that they're not showing his face is because it turns out the detective is actually played by Academy Award winner Anthony Hopkins. I mean, that how do you feel about that casting choice? I mean, that was such a reveal. I don't even know how to feel about that.
I mean, look, Anthony H is a great actor. I mean, what more can you say about how great he is?
Yeah, I mean,
So
he really somehow makes you care about the fact that like the reason he was following Donnie in the first place was because he was doing bot vote manipulation on his Instagram to build hype for the match. I mean, like
yeah.
only one actor could make you care about that as the detective plot. I mean, to have that be revealed as why he was following him should have been incredibly underwhelming. But I just can't be mad at Anthony H, you know. I just can't.
Yeah, I mean, but the thing is, like in some of those shots where you see the detective investigating and you don't see his face, I'm sure that it wasn't always Anthony Hopkins wearing the outfit. Like I wouldn't be surprised if we found out that he was just on set for that one scene where they reveal his face.
Yeah, probably. Reminds me of Morbius, the
Oh
post-credit
my
scene where
gosh.
it looks like, where I'm pretty sure Michael Keaton wasn't there.
Yeah, the version of Morbius from that other universe, which we were shown by our other selves, and it's just bad.
Yeah, I mean, the Morbius of this universe was a far superior movie, but I'm
Yeah.
just remembering like that moment in the other version where like Michael Keaton's not even on set. Like, what are they doing?
Yeah, just one of the most embarrassing credit scenes in all of cinema. Maybe the most embarrassing, possibly. in that universe, at least.
Hmm.
I do like that Donnie at least seems really happy with Bianca and Amara, and Dame seems like he's going to be all right. He's in the spotlight now, but he doesn't seem like he's going to let it go to his head. He seems like he's humbled by the end of the movie, which I guess is his arc. And yeah, I don't know. I guess they could have done more with the end of his arc, but that's just sort of where we're left, I suppose.
Hmm.
So, what do you think of Creed 3? Does it work as a closing to a trilogy?
I think it does. I mean, like we've kind of talked about how it plays with this theme of the past versus the future, how you have to let the past go so you can focus on the future, things like that. It's really kind of does that in a good way, and I think that as kind of the concluding theme to this trilogy really works, especially because the first two movies are so incredibly steeped in Rocky lore, Rocky history, you might say.
Oh yeah, because it was a Rocky history. Yeah, good
Yeah,
point.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. To have this third movie be like, okay, we can let that go now. Rocky is in the past. It's all about Creed now.
Yeah,
I
the
think that's a
future
great
is now,
choice.
old man. Also, some really great music throughout the credits. So, again, just some of the music here is pretty strong, even if the script is questionable in places. So, I guess with that, we can go into final thoughts. So, what are your final thoughts and score out of 10? And do you have measurement for that score for Creed 3?
Overall, I think I liked it. Um, it did drag in the middle. It was a little slow at times. The hour-long boxing match was a choice, and the ending didn't feel earned. But on the other hand, the music was great. The acting was great. I liked the themes. I think I'm gonna give this a solid 5 knockouts out of 10. Plus
Yeah.
one technical knockout just for getting Anthony Hopkins in the movie.
So what is that, like a 6 now?
Yeah, I guess that would be a 6.
Okay, yeah. Funny enough, I was also gonna give this a 6. So yeah, I'm gonna give this 6 out of 10 Coca-Cola sponsorships. Or scratch out all Olive Garden sponsorships. I'll go with that. It's yeah, like the music and some of the acting is strong, but again, we got that like hour-long match that just drags on. Like the first half of this film was definitely stronger. I think quality-wise, it is comparable to Rocky 5, so people's mileage may vary regarding which is the worst film of the series now. But
Hmm.
I'm still glad I watched this, and I also appreciate that they did not insert a credit scene teasing the Drago movie. As many Marvel movie actors as this had, they didn't go full Marvel with like a credit scene. So I like that they're sort of keeping that in a mystery for now, and I think that could potentially be a more interesting film than Creed 3, or at least the Creed 3 of our universe. Maybe the one in that other universe where it comes out in March 2023 or whatever will be better. But yeah, interested to see where they go with this next sort of turn of narrative, like this other area of this world, I guess you could say.
Kind of seems like they're gonna do something different with the spin-off, kind of explore a different subsection of this universe.
Yeah, maybe even explore like the current politics and whatnot.
Yeah, and I think that's gonna be very, very interesting to watch. But I'm very curious to know, especially maybe what you think. Do you think that there's gonna be a Creed 4? Or do you think this is it for the franchise?
I guess it depends on the box office and whether they think there's more story for Creed. If what we've recapped is any indication, it seems like there's a shortage of ideas. So I don't know if they can justify a Creed 4. Maybe they could make a Dame 1 or something. Or I don't know. But yeah, I don't know. I guess they'll just. I'm leaning toward no. but
Mhm.
I think there could be a small chance there could be another Creed movie, like, because you never know with some of these franchises, I guess is what I'm getting at. It would be kind of weird having the Creed series going along parallel with the Drago series. I think that would make it even more like Marvel and DC and Star Wars in that sense. Which, I mean, I love those franchises, but I know there are like probably lots of people who wouldn't want a series like this to become those other franchises in that way.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, I think we're certainly in an era of movie making where franchises are big money earners. Franchises are kind of what it seems to be the future of cinema for at least the near future is. Um, Whether or not you think that's good or bad, I think it is the where cinema's heading, and Creed may end up being a part of that with Creed and Drago and possibly more spin-offs to come.
Yeah, spin off about that robot from Rocky 3,
Oh
maybe.
no, 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 God, no, please.
Yeah, I guess that'll do it. So thanks for joining me again, Dylan. I don't know, did you want to plug? Do you have anything to plug at this point?
Um, well, I'll say that there have been some wheels turning behind the scenes on what's next for Trust Your Doctor. So definitely go and follow that feed for what's gonna happen on Twitter, TYD Podcast, or Facebook, Trust Your Doctor, TYD Podcast, same thing, Decorative Vegetable. Just in general, there's certainly things coming from me. You can also go follow me on Twitter if you want to just know what I'm doing next. That's over at Spaceman Dylan. Right now, I'm writing a novel for National Novel Writing Month. Unclear what I'm going to do with it, as always. Maybe I'll dump it online. Maybe no one will ever see it again. Who knows? But yeah, I mean, certainly follow me and follow the Decorative Vegetable podcast feed. Like I said, there's been some wheels turning behind the scenes on what's next, and I'm pretty confident in saying that even though Keon has stepped away from that podcast, the podcast has kind of ended in many ways. It doesn't mean it's the end for good.
All right. Yeah, people can check out all of those podcasts at decorativevegetable.com. Yeah, such an expansive backlog. It's really impressive that you guys continued that for like so many years.
Yeah, it was a long time, but at the same time, all good things must come to an end eventually.
Yeah, for sure. And as for my plugs, you can follow me at Steven Shinder on Instagram and Twitter, Steven Shinder Storytelling on Facebook, stevenshinder.com for info on my book, Lemons Will Like Rain, more news on the next one, Trespassing the Revisages in the near future, and you can email Delayed Replay at delayedreplaypodcast@gmail.com. Let us know your thoughts on montage music, and you can also follow me on Yesshift, the vlog/podcast I do with my dad, links to that in the show notes. So yeah, I guess that'll do it. And without further delay, have a good day.